generating a lot of traffic that is going on Old Baltimore Road. Is that what I'm reading here?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
That number's three, that, something.
It's per hour in the peak hour. We study 7 to 9 a.m., 4 to 6 p.m. on both Tuesday and Saturday. So somewhere in that time period is the peak.
Yeah, it's
one
like the
hour.
peak hour.
Yeah, so we're studying the traffic during the peak hours, the peak community time period. So as I said, 7 to 9 a.m. Somewhere in those 2 hours is the peak. It could be 7:15 to 8:15 or 7:45 to 8:45. And we study when the schools are in session during a normal day. So that's the time period that we look at.
Tuesday,
Wednesday, Thursday.
I was gonna say
Yeah,
Tuesday, Wednesday,
Tuesday, Wednesday,
Thursday, because there are also requirements, what days you can study, what times you can study, what year you can study.
so when I'm looking at this, I kind of have a sense of what new trips are being. But the other thing I really want to understand is intuitively to me, having done planning and zoning for a long time, for Carroll County for whatever 8 years before I was here, is what is the impact of Market Street being constructed? How is that impacting? There is traffic right now that is on 140 that goes onto Old Baltimore and then goes towards 97. I want to understand clearly what the traffic study is telling me, because I don't look at traffic studies every day, what the traffic study is telling me of what's happening to those existing trips. Are some of those existing trips now, are being diverted? Can someone show me where that is in here?
It's on exhibit 4, entitled diverted traffic volumes due to Market Street extension.
Exhibit 4 in the letter.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, so can you take me through that?
sure. So the traffic that, let's just use for an example, Maryland 97 northbound again. So that traffic that would go up to Maryland 140, so take for example, the AM, 46 AM peak hour trips. If you follow that north to the top of the page, the Maryland 140, you'll see of the 46 trips, 26 would be going left and 20 goes right. Those trips, so they're negative, so those trips are diverted to Old Westminster Pike and then would use Market Street extended. And so you can follow through this, that all the distribution diverted trips. And this exhibit.
Wait,
was-
you're losing me.
negatives.
Again,
Yeah,
Like-
so,
Just like we are in all traffic.
yeah, exactly. From a layman's perspective,
yeah, so. So on this exhibit, so these 46 trips, for example, they're, if you can follow them all the way up here, so 26 goes left.
yeah, but this is Malcolm. This is traffic that's going from
Yeah.
97 to 140. I'm interested in what's happening with Old Baltimore. That's what I'm asking. I'm asking about Old Baltimore.
It's very- Whole thing.
Yeah, but my question is about Old Baltimore.
So I was trying to be conservative, so we didn't divert any of the Disney trips off here. We diverted traffic from out here would use this.
So you can't call it,
Yeah, so I didn't, again, to be conservative, I'm not diverting existing traffic from Old Baltimore Road.
He's trying to show you the worst case scenario. That's the worst.
so are you telling me that none of are you telling me that your traffic study is telling me that none of the trips that are currently going on Old Baltimore are now gonna go on Market Street? That's what I'm asking you. I don't understand, like.
He's not showing, to be conservative, he's not showing any existing, in an existing situation today, he's not showing any cars coming onto Old Baltimore, all from 97 at all, even though he knows there's some. But he's assuming there's none,
Yeah, I didn't want to make an
so he's
assumption.
taking the worst case scenario, but if there were 5 of them, then you have to then look at what it would be.
It's usually the approach to try to show the worst case and not overly promise or overly calculate these things. So what Mark did, and even he said better than I can, but they try to be overly conservative when they do this, so they don't try to over assume that X trips are gonna take a different route. You'd rather be on the conservative side in terms of worst case conservative side versus the flip of that.
Now, I can say, if you look, so these trips here that are, if you're approaching the traffic signal, instead of going through up here, these trips can turn onto Old Westminster Pike and then do this. You can come up. So potentially, instead of this traffic doing this, they now have the option, the alternative route to do this. So that would be an example of a trip diversion. But once you're on this side, these trips, you know, I'm not diverting. So it's same here. So if you're on this side of 97, these 8 trips, instead of turning left here, they're going through and turning here.
So
So again,
what I was looking for, or what I thought staff was looking for as well, is some sort of explanation or analysis of, with Market Street being put in, how does that impact the Tree Street neighborhood? When I say the Tree Street neighborhood, I include Old Baltimore. Intuitively, one would suspect that Market Street connecting to 140 to Old Westminster would take off some of that traffic. I was expecting the applicant tonight to be able to demonstrate to me how you guys have looked at that. And I'm not getting that from what's being provided here. I don't have information, I feel like, because I wasn't been able to demonstrate that. to me.
can I just?
Okay, so can I make one comment or maybe help clarify? I think the reason I asked that question before, if you were asking for just the street being constructed or Chick-fil-A or both, is that when the traffic study was completed for this project, it was with Chick-fil-A in mind. So the reason we're being conservative is to see if Chick-fil-A requires a road improvement on Old Baltimore. So we don't want to say trips were diverted from it. If the question you're asking to me sounds like the study that was done 10 years ago when they intended to build the Market Street as part of the Stonegate. At that time, there was no Chick-fil-A contemplated, so they would have done diversion studies at that point. But we didn't separate the scopes. Like this traffic study you're seeing is contemplating, like, we need to construct a Chick-fil-A. We need to consider what traffic does in order to accommodate that, whether it's extend the left turn lane or widen the road. But there's not an isolated part of this study like there was maybe 15 years ago when they did it the first time. They wouldn't consider the impact of just future Market Street on the boat. I think it sounds like that's what we're asking for. I don't know that.
I don't know whether the county can speak to that, you know.
But I feel like we're just not clearly explaining.
Yeah. Can we identify yourself, please, so that we know who is responding to what questions?
Sure, yeah, I'm
Thank you.
Dan Haney with Fuller.
So, Mr. Hoff, these are forecasts, so it's not gonna be a concrete numbers. You're saying 100 trips you're gonna be diverting. And that's fact. These are, as Dan
I
said,
understand that, but we were asking for numbers on this.
right, and I think this exhibit 4 was, as Dan said, there was diversion studies done 10, 15 years ago. We use those as a basis. We send this information to the county, to the state, and again, the traffic studies looking at intersection levels of service and capacity. So I'm trying to create the worst case traffic scenario that I possibly can. I'm telling you that the Market Street extended is a second
travel route to Maryland 140, that north-south route. It's also improved by the fact that there is a roundabout there now that operates at an A-level service. So to me, it doesn't make sense to use a road where it's a narrow road where there's, impacting neighbors that have driveway cuts all along the road. It makes more sense to follow, as I said, the functional hierarchy of roads. You would use 90, so if you're going north on 97, use 97 to Oak Michigan for fight. Use the roundabout that's in the E-level service and use a road that has no driveway. That's pure collective. That's the point that I was trying to make in the letter. Right.
Where that number is still there.
Yeah, I just said it.
Could you speak up and name yourself?
Sure. Yeah. So Kyle Schmid, Traffic Concepts, Design. Ours primarily on the traffic excellent. But I think Mark, before we talked about the new trips that Chick-fil-A generated on Old Baltimore Road, and I think you had the distribution you talked about of being diverted trips. And I was just trying to make a comparison between the new trips and diverted to kind of directly address your question about like how many exact bars that would be. But it's, to Mark's defense, it's a fairly complicated process, and a lot of times when he does the study, we do have to assume worst case scenarios to make sure all the improvements are adequate. But I was just trying to give Mark like, the new trips for Chick-fil-A versus the diverted, and try and show that was, enough to get those 2, 3, 4 trips and then get started to go.
I do have a question. So, and I don't know if this could be answered by you all, but the original traffic study that was done. Looked at what the Market Street is at that time. How much traffic, if that had been done, Market Street had been put in at that time, how much traffic would that have taken out of Buckingham, with the traffic that would normally use the Tree Streets and Old Baltimore Road? How much of that traffic would have been diverted at that time if Market Street had been put in at that time? Would have been taken out of those neighborhoods. Now, I understand with Chick-fil-A, it's going to be a lot more traffic, so it's different.
I don't know if that would have even been done at that time because Market Street wasn't feasible, like there wasn't any right of way. I don't know if that even would have.
Well, something had to be looked at there for them to put the circle in the way they put the circle in. So it had to be studied that if that road was put in at that time, though they didn't have the right of way at that time, but if they did,
Any recollection?
I don't know if any of you have any recollection how much traffic that would have diverted out of the neighborhood.
I'm sorry, I can't answer that, but I just wanted to provide my comments about what's being discussed. My understanding of the traffic study. But I can answer this question, I guess, first.
So we did diversion studies 15 years ago.
Right.
And I mean, I don't have those studies in front of me, but we did use some of those studies that the approved district diverted trips for this study.
But my question is, in that study, what did that study show that if Market Street had been put in, how much traffic would have been taken to the public into?
What's against, even if it's a concern of different scale, we're saying there's 3 new trips. And there's 50 on the road, 10% of trips are diverted, what's the net positive too? So I'm not
That's the
saying.
negative thing I was getting
Yeah,
at
so
in
like,
terms of the
we don't
comparison.
have the number to answer your question, but just as an example, if any more than 10% of trips were diverted, and there's 50.
street, it would be 15% trims for tree streets.
That's, thank you, that's the
That's
point I was
that's
just trying to get at.
But we did not.
Put
assume
Market
that.
Street in,
So if you're trying to ask us logically, what assumption we would make about diversion, so logically.
well, I understand it's, like I say, I mean, there was a study done to have numbers, and if this traffic study looked at that, say, well, if they are going to put in, you would have heard this much traffic off of it. And now this increased traffic from Chick-fil-A, how is that going to impact those numbers? And like I say, I know you guys don't have, and you don't have the numbers with
Is it
you.
accurate to say that the diverted trips are greater than the new trips?
Yes.
That's what I was trying, I'm sorry, it took me a while to verbalize that. But that's what those exhibits are showing you with the numerical negatives in there.
So what that traffic study showed is this is the amount of trips that will be taken off, the
Yeah.
negatives
The diversion.
that are going to be taken off the trips.
So, just so I'm clear, what you're saying is that people will use this new roadway and the traffic circle. I'm not saying I say this, as opposed to cutting through Old Baltimore Boulevard, and one of the other streets to get to 140. But really,
Yeah.
there's two issues. There's the whole issue of traffic now that's gonna flow differently, just with the roadway going
Right.
through. And the second impact you have is because of Chick.
Exactly,
You
yeah,
have two different things working in kind of tandem.
yes.
So will all that, I guess at the end of the day, the question is, with all that happening, is the situation gonna be better in the tree streets or not? That's the question.
Yeah.
Tree Street's neighborhood, we do
Yeah,
that.
I-
Yes,
right,
no,
yeah.
but yes, that was the
Because you
finding,
have
that
the-
we believe
yeah.
it will be, and that was the point of the additional letter that was supplemented, was to say exactly that, yeah.
I mean, one of the things we have to consider neighborhood impact to traffic, so if we can't come to that question, we have a very difficult time.
No, and we understand that completely, and I know that this is not the first traffic study that you all have reviewed, and this is not the first site that you've seen that generates traffic. So every site generates traffic to different extents, obviously. The point of the supplemental letter that was provided to you was to confirm that fact you just stated, which is that that Market Street
I'm
extended.
not stating facts.
No, I'm, okay, the question that you raised, really, the answer to that, based on that letter, is that the construction of Market Street Extended will improve the traffic situation and eliminate existing pass-through trips. Not just the Chick-fil-A, in fact, because as you said, Market Street Extended and Chick-fil-A, they're working in tandem here, but they're two separate projects ultimately,
And from a layman perspective,
yes.
and someone should look at the map or the site and explain to me how you believe traffic that is going to flow in and out of that site, where and kind of where the majority of it is coming from. I want some demonstration of that. I guess I'm frustrated because I want to understand the impact that this has on the Tree Streets neighborhood, including Old Baltimore. Intuitively, I would think that Market Street Extended going through would take some of the existing traffic
Yes.
that's on Old Baltimore that currently goes to 97. Because why would I go on Old Baltimore if I could just go straight through to Market Street and go to Old Westminster? Intuitively, I would think that, but I'm asking the applicant to demonstrate to me the logic of where we're at and,
I think the traffic movements are probably best explained from the full traffic impact study itself and not just the letter.
Okay.
Because that really is, as the exhibits to answer that question in terms of overall anticipated traffic movements at the surrounding intersections to the site, because as Mark stated, and just as quick background for everyone here, but I think you're all pretty well aware of this. When a project requires a traffic impact study, that the traffic consultant works with the county to scope the area and determine relevant and important intersections that need to be studied, and then counts are done and the study is put together. And so this study, as we said at the beginning, went through a city, county, and SHA review.
And so I think that the exhibits to that study really show the movements that you're talking about in terms
Okay,
of
well
the-
then let's talk about that, I think.
I think,
Yeah.
I think what Mr. Huff is saying, you have this intuitive idea of what might be happening, but now it's shown.
Yes, and we
As the
are- we
applicant,
are-
show me.
We are trying to
Right,
answer your
that's-
question in the
Yes.
best way that we can. We're trying to summarize and provide you with the technical data. So Mark is going to point you to the pages. Do you have
You
the
have the
traffic?
traffic.
impact?
Yes, I have the traffic study in front of me.
Okay.
Second here, through that scroll down too. That's the full one, the other one you're looking at is the.
Yeah,
Maybe this helps. When in the traffic study, page 13, exhibit 6 is the base existing traffic volume.
base traffic volume, this one right here. Okay.
So we're interested in Old Baltimore Road. So if you look at Old Baltimore Road approaching Market Street. And let's use AM, then you'll see 90 lefts and 2 right. Do you see that?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, so that's existing traffic. And then if you turn to exhibit 12, that's the total future,
Or open.
that's the total forecasted traffic.
If you go back to 6, I don't know if I followed where you get the number you were talking.
Yeah.
Go on.
No, I'm in the traffic.
Oh, you're in that big,
Yeah.
okay.
So. You'll see on Old Baltimore, like. It's this exhibit, well. You'll
this
see,
is total
Yeah.
future traffic volumes, ultimate build out.
so you'll
Okay.
see 90 left. And it's
140 and 12.
yeah, so 90.
But that's coming from Old Baltimore. I'm talking about the traffic that's coming from 140 or Old Westminster into or 140 onto Old Baltimore. Isn't that addressed and diverted?
The point I'm trying to make is, under the existing traffic and then the future traffic, that 90, the traffic on Old Baltimore Road is not increasing it. It stays at 90 in the morning. We're adding our site trips, but the existing traffic flow is gonna stay the same or be reduced. Again, I took a conservative approach in the diversion to create a worst case traffic scenario.
What is exhibit 4, diverted traffic volumes due to Market Street extension? What am I looking at when I'm looking at that?
That was in my letter.
No, it's in the traffic study. This
Okay.
one right here. What
Yeah,
am I looking
so-
at here?
Let me back up. So that's existing traffic, so exhibit 3 is existing traffic. Exhibit 4 is the diverted traffic due to Market Street extended. And then exhibit 6, we call the base volumes are with the diversion.
And you see 46 trips got reduced going up Malcolm Drive. But they didn't put a number on Old Baltimore Road, and because I leave it at 0, at a worst case scenario, you gotta figure a couple of people would have made that right turn.
I mean,
And that whatever percentage was making it before, if you knew that percentage, you could then take that percentage. and
it's a logical path for traffic to follow.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel comfortable in reducing that volume. Because I'd have to answer for them. So I, again, created the worst case.
And again, you have to remember what the traffic impact study is for. It just showed potential impacts on existing roadways and planned roadways and mitigation for that. So what he's saying is that he took the existing traffic as it travels now and assumes that traffic's going to maintain. He didn't take the deduction that he probably could have taken, he's demonstrating with the diversion. He maintained, and in some cases, possibly additional trips may come in, demonstrating to the county that it's not going to increase. If it maintains itself, the level of service is the same. If it decreases minimally, the level of service stays the same, therefore no mitigation is necessary. I think he was taking the conservative approach to say, we're not gonna, well, I did the traffic study, not assuming the loss, but that these trips are people that are traveling Old Baltimore to get to 97 or live in the tree streets. So he's not assuming cut through, or did he try to mitigate that? The diversion plan shows the mitigation. That what, so he did it deducted from the TIS, because again, the purpose of the TIS is potential mitigation and demonstrating that it's not gonna be a heavy increase needing to mitigate that roadway. So the diversion, just as an example, so trips coming out of Stonegate. That if I'm leaving Stonegate today, if I want to get to 140, my options are, I can make the left, get to 97, turn right to get to 140, or I can make the left, go up the tree streets, hit Old Baltimore and come up to the 140 light. The diversion study shows that I'm not making that movement anymore. If I want to get to 140, the fastest.
So if I'm
quickest
coming
way-
out of Stonegate now, okay, thank you. This is kind of, I need someone to logically take me through this. So if I'm coming out of Stonegate with Market Street extended on, the logic says that I'm gonna go straight out Market Street.
Yeah, that's the
Because why am I
fastest-
going up a tree street to cut across Old Baltimore, to then go to 97? I would just go straight up Market Street.
Exactly.
Is that what you're telling me?
You have a level of service A at that traffic circle, and it's gonna maintain that level. You're gonna have a lot faster to cut through that, to make any left, to go up a tree street, to cut back over to make it, try to make a left-hand turn back onto Market Street. Or you're not gonna make the left to get to 97 and hit that light to get to 140. You're gonna go straight.
Well, you'd have two, if you cut through there, you'd have two stop.
Yes.
At the end of the street, and then when Baltimore Boulevard, Old Baltimore Boulevard connects in, you have another stop. So logic would tell you just go straight,
Exactly. So.
whether Chick-fil-A there or not.
Exactly, if I'm leaving Stonegate, I'm going, now, say I live west of the traffic circle in Old Westminster. And today I go through the traffic circle and I want to get to 140 equally. I either go straight through the traffic circle, get to 97, make the right on 97 to get to 140, or I cut up one of the tree streets, hit Old Baltimore and
I'm
make
trying
the
to
right.
just help your line. East, yeah.
If I'm traveling west on Old Westminster and I'm traveling west, I hit the traffic circle and I continue traveling west to 97, or I go through the traffic circle, I make a right on the tree street in Old Baltimore, where then I can decide, do I want to make a left to get to 97 that way or a right to Old or to Route 140? Now, I'm going to hit the traffic circle, level service A, make an easy right-hand turn, shoot straight up to 140. There's no reason for me to bypass a traffic circle to hit a tree street. Now, if I'm on 97 and I'm traveling north and I want to bypass 97 for some reason, and I want to make the right and the left in the tree streets to get up to 140 for some reason that way, why would I do that? I'd rather make the right in 97, go to a traffic circle with a level surface A, and they're demonstrating in the traffic study that
Well, so
movement.
you're saying there could be people that currently are going up 97 and turning right onto Old Baltimore to get to 140.
Yeah, or people coming off of 140, hitting Old Baltimore now, making a left in the
Well,
tree street.
let's
to
just
make
keep
a-
on, so the people that are currently going up there right now, in theory, they would be going to Old Westminster, take the circle and then go up.
Yes.
Is that what you're?
That's the faster, you're gonna make the right one to 97, better movement.
Because you
at
can't, because
97.
now with the way that Old Baltimore is coming into Market Street as proposed, you don't have a light there or anything, you have to stop and then
Right.
turn left, so, yeah, why would you do that?
Exactly.
What about the traffic that's coming from because the other thing is, right now, if I'm on 140 and I turn onto Old Baltimore to get to 97 that way, that makes no
Well, it's so,
You
that,
can.
so- and that's what he's showing, so the traffic study says if I'm making that movement, if I get off at 140 at Old Baltimore and I wanna travel to 97, he's
you
maintaining
can't
that.
go, you can only go north.
Right.
That
Now,
makes
if I
sense.
come down Old Baltimore off of 140 and I wanna make it, and I'm trying to get to Stonegate, I'm gonna make a left through the tree street, make a left onto Old Westminster, and then make a right after into the traffic circle in the Stonegate. Or would I, on 140, make the left onto Market Street Extended, go straight down? There's no reason to continue into the tree streets as a cut through, because now I have a direct access down to, again, level service aid movements into a traffic circle that gets me into my development. So again, any way any purpose for cutting through the tree streets is eliminated. I just can't think of a purpose that's gonna be a faster movement to get you to any location by going through the tree streets. And this, again, this is what I think, and I'm just stating, this is what I think the traffic study states and what the diversion shows, the negative movements. That you're not, the negative movement of going straight through the traffic circle, like I said, on Old Westminster versus turning the right, that gets a plus movement. So he's showing diversion of these people making the faster, quicker movements through the point from point to point. And you're always going to take the collector as a faster movement than you are in a local road.
Put aside, Chick-fil-A for just a moment, and I'm gonna give you an example here of, say you live back in town where I live. So I come up 97, going 140, I want to go to Chipotle as an example, okay? So I come out of Chipotle, I get my order. I then come up to the intersection of Market Street right now. To get back to town, I have two choices. I could come up, do a U-turn, come back to the intersection there where Popeyes is and make a left to go back to where I live. Now, what I do logically is I turn I turn there by where the Chick-fil-A is gonna be built. I go down, I cut through. Now, if Market Street Extended was finished, I would just go straight. I wouldn't cut through there. It wouldn't make any sense. There's a stop sign I have to hit. So logic would tell you you're gonna take the quickest route, not having to stop. Whether Chick-fil-A is there or not, that's what you're gonna do.
Mr. Debo, I appreciate a layman's version of
Thank you.
explanation.
That's what.
Getting very frustrated because we're just.
And it's in the study, like I said, it's there, it's a very detailed report, but even if you want to come up Old Baltimore now, how it ties in. Why wouldn't you come down here, hit the traffic circle, come up? Versus come to this point and having to cross traffic. So again, that's another diversion of why would you want to do this movement versus hitting here, or Market Street Extended, or even on 140. Why would you ever turn down 97 to then hit Old Baltimore to come to this point? I would say if you're going if you live down here, you'd make that trip. Or would you come straight down and make the right here to get into Chick-fil-A? Again, I think he's being conservative. I think he could have reduced and demonstrated a reduction in number of trips on Old Baltimore, but he was being conservative, to demonstrate that mitigation wasn't necessary.
So since we have county representatives here, I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Sure.
Since Mr. Depot is in a layman's manner explaining this, do you agree with how he's taking us through this from a logic standpoint? I mean, isn't that the whole point of why Market Street was being built?
Exactly. That's why it's been a planned major street for, well, probably a few decades now, is to alleviate the trips through the tree streets to provide another access way to get between Old Westminster Pike and 140. That's the primary reason for the construction of Market Street, why it's a planned major street.
And then when I thought I was reading in the traffic study that while there are, quote, some new trips, those are people like that potentially live in the tree streets going to the Chick-fil-A and going back. Am I not understanding what I thought I was reading in the traffic study? Is that not what?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, is that not what I was reading?
I guess I'd have to look at the specific part of the traffic study, but yes, that sounds about right.
I would say the reasonableness, if there is an increase on that trip, it is people that live there. Because why you avoid it if you didn't live there, then I think I demonstrated every other aspect to get to it. That you're gonna.
So when Market Street is being built.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
So.
Right. Any other questions?
And more later, like public health.
Yeah,
Well, can we take a short 5-minute recess?
let's come back and figure after 10 a.m. call this meeting back to order. We now have. I'm not going to read off the RCS. So first, let's have a sales tax thing. 16 morning.
Good evening. This is a done deal. We weren't asked about what we wanted in our neighborhood by anybody over here, not one of you. And even you, Mr. Vito. Nobody asked, you just said, we're giving you a Chick-fil-A. Nobody asked. Yes, the Main Street extension is supposed to take care of the traffic that they had planned for the subdivisions off of Old Westminster Pike. But no one's talked about the over 3,000 cars that are going to be coming through. They're not going to just divert. You already cut through. Everybody cuts through, okay? We all cut through. But the entrance for this is off of Old Westminster, off of Old Baltimore, not off of 140. So they're going to be coming up Old Baltimore to be able to turn in because everyone's going to be lined up on 140 to try to turn right to come in. So they're going to stack up. And we have all kind of driveway cuts on Old Baltimore, not just the tree streets. Old Baltimore is part of our neighborhood. So since we don't have a say in this matter, and since we are technically screwed, our property values are going to go down. The crime, the trash, the traffic, we all now have to bear that. We don't want this just as much as everybody doesn't want the power line project. We're going to suffer some of the same fate. We are going to lose. The city's going to gain. Hooray for you. Hooray for the city. Hooray for Chick-fil-A. You get to make more money while we lose money, while we lose safety, while we lose security. So my question was, would you please dead end Old Baltimore? That's the only way my neighbors on that end of the street are going to feel safe, not have all of the traffic lights from the cars in their houses. I don't think you realize how much this is harming us, how much this is going to harm us. And none of you in this room give a hoot. No one asked us. No one's had a conversation with us. We had to scream in order for him and half the county to be able to come over and tell us that this is what they were going to do. We were promised to be invited to meetings that we never got an invite to. This is the only meeting we've had an invite to. We were supposed to be at all the different county hearings to hear some of the comments and give our perspective, but we weren't invited. This is the only one. Please don't vote for this quite yet. Make them dead end Old Baltimore. So that's the only way my neighborhood is going to survive. And it's unfair of what you're doing to my neighborhood. It's very unfair. You didn't even come in and shake our hands, say, hi, how are you? How do you do? Nothing. Nothing. You just come in and take a big dump and it's okay. And expect us not to be upset.
Michelle, say here.
Yes, sir.
What in the old water would you want to eat?
We're down by all this mess. All the way down by where the Chick-fil-A is going to
So
be.
you want, basically you want Old
Dead end.
Baltimore Road cut off
Cut it off.
from,
Yes. You guys weren't here whenever the power lines went down. In my neighborhood, we were trapped like rats. We couldn't get out on to 140 because that's where they fell. We couldn't go out onto 97 because traffic wasn't allowed to go that way. So the only thing we could do is go down our tree streets onto Old Westminster Pike. And everybody was on Old Westminster Pike.
oversay that.
It was a special circumstance, but we're now going to have to cut off one exit from our neighborhood to save the safety and security of our neighborhood and to mitigate. We now have to mitigate your damage. We didn't ask for this. We don't want it. Nobody in my neighborhood wants this, but that doesn't seem to matter. So please, dead end Old Baltimore. Because obviously we can't stand up to the line.
Appreciate it. Okay. Next I have Andy Sandy Wetland.
Sandy Weber, yes. And so I live on that connector road, Old Baltimore Road, and I'm about 150 feet away from the proposed site. Unfortunately, I have neighbors that couldn't be here tonight that are about 40 feet away from the site. I can't think of another place in the county where there's a shopping center or a restaurant or such a busy establishment that close to residential homes. And I would implore any of you to go down and look at the site, see how close those houses are. This new plan has all the parking and the drive-through exit where you pick up the food. All those headlights are now pointing directly at me and all of my neighbors. The traffic circle is not out on 140 where, well, obviously it can't be on 140, but all the traffic is now being diverted basically into a residential community. So not only is there going to just be the normal residential traffic from Stonegate and the others, but now they're talking about another 3,500 people coming into our neighborhood to access Chick-fil-A. I don't know if you've traveled, but people in this county are not very adept at traversing a traffic circle. They treat it as a four-way stop. Some of them just stop and wait for the traffic to completely clear before they enter. There's very close proximity between 140 and the proposed circle. So 140 traffic is going to back up, I'm sure, probably back up from Old Westminster Pike. I think it's just going to create a lot of disruption for our community, again, especially those poor people that are even closer than I am. And I would really wish you would just go look and see how close those houses are and what the impact is going to be to those homes.
And all right, next, Emily Fox.
My name is Emily Fox. I am a survivor of a near fatal accident that happened on 140. And this proposal, particularly Chick-fil-A, was bringing that trauma back into my life. So thank you. Really appreciate it. I wanted to focus first exclusively on the traffic study. The study openly admits that the project will create a failing intersection. That's unacceptable. Maryland 140 and Lighty Road, the analysis shows the eastbound left turn will operate at a level of service rated F during peak evening and Saturday hours. These are typically the most common periods of time for Chick-fil-A to receive business. The developer quantifies the added delay from this project at over 47 seconds. Doesn't seem like a lot, but I'd already said a lot of things within that turnaround. During that evening time alone, yet astonishingly concludes that there's no mediation required. Second, the study shows that developers' proposed road improvements are actually inadequate. At the crucial intersection of 140 and Market Street, the plan to widen the northbound bridge still results in a significant increase of the delays during the morning commute. That's me, my neighbors, my ability to go pick up my kids, which is what caused the accident in the first place by negligent driving, not paying attention. This isn't an improvement, it's a permanent increase of commute times for the residents of the area. Third, the project worsens an existing failing infrastructure. The report identifies that the westbound left turn lane from 140 onto the New Market Street extension has deficient storage at background traffic conditions, not even peak. This Chick-fil-A will add 53 feet that queue. That's not enough. It's hard enough for me to just get up to the traffic light now to turn left into my neighborhood because of the volume of traffic on 140 going downtown to Westminster. It makes a bad situation that much worse. Most critically, the very foundation of the traffic study is entirely flawed. It relies on the Institute of Transportation Engineers trip generation manual for a generic fast food restaurant. Part of Chick-fil-A's design strategy is for drive-through traffic. They already admitted 60% of it goes through their drive-throughs. And while that double lane will include about 46 cars parked consistently, what about all the other cars that are waiting to turn left to get into there? Or the amount of cars that are going to sit on Old Baltimore waiting to cut across and in front of the people trying to turn left to get into there. I was already in a car accident once. I don't want to have to relive that experience every time I try to leave my neighbor or pick up my daughters.
All right, I have Eric Weber.
Thank you. Got a lot to unpack here. So traffic concepts. Tell us about some of the other projects you had in Carroll County. You don't have to now, just think about it.
This is not a question, this is your opportunity.
This is just what I have to comment. Light pollution, no dream neighborhoods, how you handling that? contingency for access based on failed assessment of traffic concepts. County used to eminent domain to widen the road because of failed assessment. Assessments for Old Westminster Pike Main Street after addition of Market Street extension. Biggest issues I see currently, multiple government agencies handling portions of this project are depending upon each other for overall success, but when it fails, now you have the bureaucracy of disjoint entities pointing the finger at each other. Chick-fil-A, Santa Barbara, same issues. Multiple lawsuits over the new design, creating extra traffic on the state street, causing undue stress over traffic congestion. Why didn't you think of access and egress to match like Roy Rogers on 140 in Sultan, where you had 2 ways in, 2 ways out? Not a politically correct term, but no accommodation for an idiot bypass. Meaning if somebody pulls into the parking lot and goes straight into the drive-through thinking, oh, I can get around the building, and they can't. Contingency for water management when the road gets wide and the traffic circle gets redesigned to traffic limitations. You mentioned your company designed the roundabout, and it's already proven to be an impediment for some of the larger fire equipment. Path A will be 140 to Old Westminster Pike via Market Street. Path B will be 140 Market Street extension up through the tree streets. Then you also have the people who are trying to get out of Chick-fil-A, can't make the right because the lights back up, so now they're going to shoot straight across onto Baltimore up to Malcolm Drive to make a right. When is the opportunity for the real numbers to come in? So you can base your project plan on what's really going to happen. Just all my notes from just listening to you tonight.
Thank you. So, has anybody else who's not signed up wants to speak? So I just want to make this general comment. We don't get the opportunity to. There's a piece of property that's zoned, Rick Heroes and Planning Division, we can't tell somebody that they can't request approval or not of a plan. We have to deal with what's submitted and do the best we can as citizens. And I know I put a lot of attention into preparing for these meetings, so I try to understand what's happening, but at the end of the day, our system is you have a piece of zone land, and you do the studies, you do the analysis, and then we try to make the best decision we can. It's not always easy, but I believe the people I serve with do the best job possible. So it's not always easy, believe me.
Can we ask a few follow-up questions?
Yeah,
like that?
that's what I want, yeah.
Yeah, okay, Jake, go ahead.
One of my concerns on any site, it doesn't matter where or whatever, is lighting. How do you all propose to handle not lighting up the adjoining neighborhoods with your parking lights and your store lights and everything? And the reason I asked this question, I was the former zoning administrator for Carroll County. It was one of my biggest problems when I was in that job. Was lights, spillage, issues. Like to know how you all want to handle.
There is a photometric plan. That's always required
No.
for the site.
Photometric plans don't always.
No,
work
I
the way they
understand.
Yeah.
They have layman's terms, but I just want everyone to understand.
Yeah, so to that end, the photometric plan just speaks to the site lighting and the building lighting, so there's fixtures that are utilized around the perimeter where it would be required by the city to meet their standards at light levels of the property line. So really the only property line that I think requires specialized fixtures because the so close is one of the building adjacent to the other truck business there. They have lights that spill onto the Chick-fil-A property in the existing condition, and then we have lights that are trying to cut off. So it's an unavoidable situation. And then along Market Street, any issue with light source in that area, also facing and shade, there's nothing, there's no street lighting proposed.
Oh, there is no street lighting.
Correct, we
It's
talked
a
about,
county road.
yeah, we talked about it with the county and, you know, it was determined that it was
The county doesn't put streetlights.
not desired for the roadway, so there's gonna be no new lighting on the far side of the road on the community side. And then I think the only other type of lighting, I guess that could be referenced as it relates to light spillage would be headlights and cars. So I think we did a pretty good job with the drive-through layout of keeping all headlights that are in the drive-through to never point at a residential property. So when you enter, you're pointing away. When you're on the long stretch, you're pointing towards 140. And when you exit the drive-through, you would be pointing towards a commercial business directly across Future Market Street. So the only headlights that would ever point towards the residential properties directly across the street are the parking stalls that face the Market Street extension. Along that frontage, we've, you know, provided a pretty substantial landscape buffer that's going to be comprised of a low hedgerow. But the intent is to block headlights. And then there will be also street trees. So there, the landscape plan was one of the exhibits that was shared. It was also obviously part of the but
Just to give you a little bit more of that, my experience has been a building around the lights that shine in parking. That glow is off the site, no question about it. Doing these just broadcast down parking from the boat. And the neighbors can see the lighting, the bulb itself, which is the biggest complaint about that. That draws, there's attention in the eye when it shines onto a property. How do you plan on shielding light fixtures? Not preventing extra glare, not so much extra light, but extra glare going off onto properties where you can see, you know, the light fixture itself. How do you plan on shielding that? Both on the building, which when you're pointing outwards, and the pole lighting, when you're pointing inwards. How do you plan on shielding it?
I can talk about the building a little bit. So the building do have sconce lights on the exterior, but they are enclosed sconces, they're not exposed bulbs. They're
Okay.
architectural lighting for that really kind of accent the building and the brick, you know, texture of it. The lighting for the parking lot, obviously, there's not any lights on the building that are designed to illuminate. They're architectural only, just to kind of give the building a little bit more, you know, character, if you will. Like
Solves one problem.
Yes, sir. And then in terms of the lighting fixtures in the parking lot, I'll let you kind of speak a little bit more to that.
yeah,
Lighting.
I would say I'm not a lighting expert or a landscape architect. The Chick-fil-A has a partner who's on the architectural team who does their photometric plans because they have, including the building canopy lighting with it. But I know some of the things that they do are, and certainly they have to comply with jurisdictional guidelines, which is a given that in terms of light levels. But there are cutoff fixtures proposed, as I mentioned, at the adjacent business. So I can't say,
Well,
you know,
I can
that
say
I
that-
know the design, like I know that's 1,000 lumen, whatever.
That's, like I say, I mean, so if the light, they're designed to light up the parking lot, I understand that. Like I say, it's supposed to be the area, I mean, at the box. But in my experience, the dealing with that issue, that it's not so much the light that's shining down onto the, it's the light fixtures themselves. They're extremely bright, because they got to produce the light. And the neighbors can see that fixture clearly, and that causes most of the concern.
So the fixtures that we use are LED fixtures, they are.
They're worse.
Well, they're the most energy efficient.
I know that.
They're most directed as well.
Yeah.
So it's not like a metal halide bulb that's on an angle that's just kind of like blasting out. They're designed to create kind of that halo, if you will, around where they are, and they are focused, obviously. So they do have, like Dan mentioned, you know, the cutoff fixtures, or cutoff shroud, you will, prevent light spillage off the adjacent property. So again, it's intended to create a safe environment at nighttime, because obviously we don't want to create an opportunity for crime, you know,
Understand.
it's create danger for anybody inside. So the lights are focused down, they're not focused up.
Okay, because like I say, my 30 years experience being with the county, it's one of my biggest problems that I had to deal with. And I know how the neighbors react, seeing the light fixtures, not so much the light themselves, but the fixtures. But I would definitely like, make sure that that's addressed.
Have you speak to the lighting concern? Have you?
Not concerned, and ultimately, if there is a glare issue, we get a complaint, I can cite the property owner for that.
We have the power to do that.
We just did this with another development that happened, and they provided additional screening
I
and,
think I remember hearing about that.
to not allow it spillover into the adjacent. And that property is right, those lights are right on the property line, the backyards of residential development.
So we have that ability.
Yes.
To be able to take enforcement action if there's light spillage
Yes,
that as the zoning administrator, when you go out there, you determine this.
yes, and it's not uncommon that we work with an applicant, because a lot of times when they're installed, if they're not filtered the proper way or installed the proper way, we work with them and they would get out there and readjust. And we would continue to work with them to make sure that doesn't happen.
Could you address or show up on possible, how the landscaping works, 140 back along the length of the property? You understand my question? How will that serve both to beautify and also serve like a screen or buffer?
So a requirement, this is a requirement of the code, that you have to require landscaping between the parking lot and any adjacent street or residential property. So along the parking lot, you'll see this hedgerow here, here, and here.
So that's
Doesn't-
what potentially is helping to block some of the headlight.
It has to be planted 3 feet in height and initially, and over time, obviously it'll get more dense. And if anything happens, if they die, they'd have to replace them. We could
We
cite
have
them.
enforcement action. for it.
Exactly, because it would be in violation of the site plan. If there's dead material out there, they'd have to replace it. And
What kind of planning?
I don't have the list here and. Yeah, exactly, and they're year round. It's not, yeah.
We
so-
only propose one for the dive.
So my other question is, this whole operation. The actual. Your peak hour, how does that work in a typical day? And does weekend make any difference? Just trying to understand, when is it really going to be busy? Even, but I think that's a concern of a lot of folks as far as. It's just gonna be busy when it's peak time for traffic, how's that all gonna look together?
Well, I mean, in terms, like, so our business generally, it's usually, Saturday tends to be a more busy day than, Monday, we're obviously closed all Sunday, so, nothing happening in the restaurant on Sunday. Saturday tends to be one of the busiest days. And then they're kind of all spread out between there, Mondays typically when it's slower. Those numbers.
What about your hours of operation?
Yes, sir. So, generally they're about 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., maybe 10:30, depending on, the community and what, the guests are still, interested in dining with us later, then, but usually it's no later.
But within that time frame. What are your peak, when's your peak volume? Obviously,
Yeah, I mean,
there's gotta be
obviously,
times that are gonna have more people.
lunch and dinner tend to be time of most folks, tend to be a bit time.
I have a question because it was brought up. Was there? Because the existing Old Baltimore, the port, there's a part of Old Baltimore that's becoming Market Street. And it's now going to be named Market Street, if I'm understanding everything correctly, correct? Now?
Yeah.
So was there any discussion or consideration? And I don't believe because it's a county road that we would even have the authority to make a recommendation on Market Street or require something related to Market Street. Am I not correct on that? Because that's the county's purview. Is that correct or not?
In relation to Old
There
Baltimore.
was a suggestion that dead ending Old Baltimore. Was there, I'd like to know from staff, was there discussion about that what, you know,
Yes, there was.
okay.
There was discussion. They can discuss more about that, and I think you'll see that it's not the correct thing to do, but yeah, there's no rational nexus for you as the planning commission to force the county to and get.
It's not our
any-
purview, but can the
No.
county representative speak to whether you had any discussions regarding that?
Sure, Doug Brown,
Yeah.
Deputy Director, Department of Public Works.
Yes.
So, and I did a little checking when it was brought up. We haven't had any recent discussions on it, other than the fact that if it were to come an option, it would reconfigure everything to include all the traffic impact studies. There are many things that you have to consider when you dead in a road of that length. And the other one is public safety concerns. So there are concerns of getting from one end of the road to the other end of the road in a timely fashion. You know, units that would normally, let's say, come to Market Street, perhaps make a right turn to go up through there. So all of this would have to be considered, studied again. And then any road closure of this nature would have to go before the Board of County Commissioners, who would ultimately decide on whether or not a road is closed. So and again, typically how we do with our processes would be a majority of the property owners that are impacted by that. That may swell because you have to also consider that what everyone's referred to here tonight is the tree streets can certainly have access to those. So that it may swell to include a majority of all those property owners in that development.
So if they gave you a letter from everybody that is a property in the tree street, say, we don't want Old Baltimore to be a through road anymore, that would start the process.
So it would then have to be looked at, correct? And so it could come to me or our Department of Traffic Engineering. Now, again, it would be more of a format that everyone in the neighborhood would have to sign, every registered property owner.
If I put a spreadsheet together, like a petition type thing, would that be better, or would you?
Well, I think, yeah, we probably would discuss that, right, that would be one on the other side.
So, but it's clear to me from the discussion, this is not the city. That's correct. It's not the city. Okay.
And, you know, from having worked for the city for 30 years, that one hardest thing to do is to close roads, make it one way.
Yes.
It's just, it sounds so like physical offensive. But you think about those people that live in the street, and I'm not for or against, I'm just saying that if you stop that, then you can't go back to Baltimore Boulevard to turn right or turn left, but you can't do that now. So you're creating a situation where it becomes very difficult to actually get in and out of that neighborhood. And I mean, I can understand your point of view, but there's also the other side to me. And it sounds like this is a silver bullet solution. And I'm here again, it's not my decision to make, I'm just saying that when look at it, get those two sides.
You're absolutely right. And when it comes to traffic, I deal with it all the time in and out.
Well, it's never easy to deal with.
It is never easy, and we're often asked to reduce or limit or stop, and it's just near impossible. Yeah, thank you.
All right, so,
I have one other question, which is, to try this. Can someone speak to, someone brought up the intersection of Ivy Road as far as what the impact of Market Street going through or the Chick-fil-A, what the impact on that intersection is compared to what it currently is. And I'm also kind of curious just what the impact is on Old Westminster Pike as well, with now this connection going through. If someone could just briefly speak to that.
Yeah, so, yep, in the study, it's clear, well, let me back up. The configuration of Lottie Road at Maryland 140, the side roads, Lottie Road, and the other side is a auto dealership. So those are right out only movements. There's no through movement. The failure occurs from existing background and future. And it's the eastbound left turn from Maryland 140 onto Lottie Road.
So that, again, that balance existing background and future.
When Mark says existing background, sure that, without Chick-fil-A existing
It fails.
conditions, it fails.
It's already
It's
failed.
not, Chick-fil-A is not causing the failure.
Chick-fil-A is not
Market
causing the
Street
failure.
is causing the failure. It's failed today.
It's failing today. And what is Chick-fil-A's impact on that failure now?
Chick-fil-A does not add trips to that daily left turn movement. It obviously adds trips to the through, Maryland 140 through.
But the real concern is the,
The failing move, there's two different failures that can happen. There's failing movement and there's failing intersection. In this case, it's a failing movement, right, Mark?
It's a failing move, but this is an unsignalized intersection, so highway capacity only looks at the movements. It doesn't provide an overall intersection delay. But again, the site generated traffic doesn't impact that failing left turn lane.
and I know, obviously, previous experience that you can't expect a developer, when you're already dealing with something that's a problem, to fix a problem that already exists. That's sort of, well, that's government's responsibility to kind of address that.
And it doesn't meet signal warrants.
Okay.
Check.
And then could someone speak to the impact on Old Westminster Pike? I guess from, you know, the combination of Market Street going through, is this going through impacting the Old Westminster Pike?
Old Westminster Pike at,
Is Old Westminster Pike being impacted by the connection of Market Street?
I would imagine it is that not correct?
That's what a roundabout, correct?
Yeah,
to the
but
round.
that's not a failing, but that's a intersection before and after, is that not correct?
That's correct.
What about the intersection of Old Westminster and 97? Is that changed at all, or is that the same grade irregardless?
It's inadequate level of service. Obviously, we have.
Was it inadequate though? My question is.
It's not inadequate, it's adequate.
Adequate. It's adequate, but it's not changing based off of the impact of Market Street going through.
The adequate, no.
Yeah, it's just, okay. Because those were just questions I wanted to make sure that, you know, so it's adequate now, and after this is done, it's adequate.
Yes, and just for everybody's kind of understanding, the reason that they choose mitigation is because when changing its level of service to a certain extent with the requirements, there is required mitigation. And so if you're impacting state highway would be the one to say, we want you to do this. If you're impacting county road would be the ones to say, we want you to do this. City would say it. So the reason for the Lane Road that the state mitigation is because that's an existing condition, failing movement, and state highway is not requesting any mitigation because we are not causing.
The state could call it, they could require it.
What's the level of service of that intersection? 140. What would be,
140 and Market Street extended
is it level of service area?
140,
and Market Street extended.
that's the roundabout.
No.
Yeah,
is that on-
Yeah.
So,
I know I looked at it, but I cannot remember.
Go down 140, the main car. Lighting, turning around, going to the MBA, and going around turning to go into the landfill. They're, well, I try to avoid it.
140th, Market Street. It's 31.9 seconds of delay. It's a level of service C existing. This is a Saturday, by the way, so it's the worst. So background, it's a D and it stays a D under future with improvements.
So with future with improvements, so it is the same grading before and after.
Correct.
With the mitigation that you're doing as development.
Background is
Okay.
It's not really requested from the audience. We got probably a couple of minutes.
And you had an opportunity for public comment, under public comment, we asked if there was any other public comment. Okay,
All right, well, I'll give you a chance here in a second.
did anyone else has any other follow-up questions?
I know. No good?
I'm good.
No. Yeah, yeah, definitely. All right, if you'd like to say something, sir, this is probably.
As you had just mentioned, why, sounds like the level of service at that intersection at 140 turning left onto Market Street extension is already very good. There will be a significant increase in traffic turning left there, coming from eastbound 140 from Finger to that intersection. That is already difficult for us in Tree Street to turn there at peak traffic time. Because the center lane is back up and blocked the left turn lane, so you can't get in the turn lane. And so it sounds like this will possibly take 2 or 3 lights for us just to turn onto that street with the increased amount of traffic there. So I would like to raise that as a point of consideration for.
Could you state your name for the record too?
So you're Eric. are you-
Nathaniel Burton, Emily is my spouse, and we live on Russell Side.
So let me, Nathaniel,
Burton, B-U-R-T-O-N.
Urkin,
T-O-N.
oh, Burton. And your address is the same, sir? Okay, all right, perfect. All right, so any further comments, information, questions? Okay. What's the pleasure of the body?
Mr. Diva, could you throw up what your recommendations are on this grant?
Yeah, James, looking for this.
Its recommendation
So
is.
it's number 2 and number 3. I apologize, number 1, I'm not.
Number 1 is not
Yeah,
correct.
so it's number 2 and number 3.
No, we did have, there's a.
Number 1 is address all outstanding city and
comment.
county comments prior to the submission of signature set milers.
Yes.
And then it's the number 2 and number 3 up there.
Yes.
Can I ask one, when is the plan to start construction of Market Street?
As soon as possible, but we still probably realistically have a few months, I would say, because we have to work through, as Chris said, the procurement process. And ideally, the construction, Chris, probably wrong for Scott. Ideally, the construction we try to do it in tandem. So even though the county has to go through a procurement process, we'd like to try to work with the same contractor. So it's just not getting that final.
Chris, can I ask you a question? If this project is not moving forward, does that impact Market Street moving forward? Potentially.
Actually, yes, because, as I said before, in order for Market Street to go through, we needed part of this property in order to make that connection. That's, even though this has been planned for decades, we needed all the, property acquisition to allow to move forward, and this project is part of that property to allow to go forward. So if this project were to completely stop and they walked away from it, we would be back at renegotiations with the property owner at their pleasure to convey the needed right of way to the county to allow Market Street to happen.
Yeah. Yes, we mentioned me.
Well, I mean, we're to the point now.
I was just. Only one discussion. Well, I mean, yes,
Especially with. I mean, we can make the motion and then have further discussion.
Well, I guess I feel like,
Why don't I make the motion for the sake of discussion and then we can discuss it. I will make a motion that The Planning and Zoning Commission conditionally approved site development plan S 23-0001 Chick-fil-A pursuant to the City of Westminster zoning ordinance Article 25 and based upon the August 21st, 2025 S 23-0001 staff report with the following conditions of approval. All outstanding city and county comments prior to submission of signatures set mileage. Address all outstanding. And then prior to the final signature set approval of S 23-0001 Chick-fil-A to read the subdivision of the existing properties through a boundary line adjustment must be approved by the city and recorded among the Carroll County land records. And then additionally, and very importantly, construction of Market Street Extended beyond the stage of excavation or grading must start prior to the City of Westminster approval of building permits for S 23-0001, and construction of Market Street Extended must be completed and accepted by the Board of County Commissioners prior to the City of Westminster issuing approval for a use and occupancy permit for S 23-0001.
I'll second that motion.
Motion been made and seconded. So, what do you think today?
Rarely think, but,
That's not true.
I understand the citizens' concern with traffic, concerns, any new construction, whether this is gonna be a Chick-fil-A, or if it's gonna be a dollar store, or any other type of business that is allowed in that zoning district in the city, since it's an allowed use, there has to be some extraordinary reason, I feel, turn it down. I feel I haven't heard any reasons for us. Like I said, I do understand the neighbors' concerns with traffic. Quite a few friends that live out there and they understand where it's coming from. But I also understand that we as a planning commission, we have to base our decisions based on what was presented and what is fact. And what is allowed by the law. So, like I say, I second the motion on our discussion here. I feel that part of this having met us to make.
Yeah, I know that they have a net positive on traffic. Feel like it should be, because I know I got through there all the time, and I really expect happens, but no way to prove this. Feel like it's not Republican thing, but walk the streets and safely. Closing that road.
I kind of agree with Mr. Boyd from the standpoint that this is a principal permitted use. If this project doesn't move forward, some other project at some other point in time is moving forward. And frankly, the neighborhood might like it more, they might like it less, depending upon what that particular use is. And, you know, we have no way to predict that. Additionally, from my understanding, from the testimony that was received this evening, Market Street Extended has been on the books for a long time. And it is something that from a traffic flow standpoint, from the overall road system, is something that should be happening. Intuitively, while I was frustrated with trying to get to the answers and logic, intuitively, I would imagine Market Street extended going through would potentially have a positive impact on the Tree Street neighborhood from the standpoint of all the cut-through traffic that is currently going through there, because it just, as someone who's served on planning and zoning commissions and looked at multiple plans over my years, it just intuitively makes sense that, it would cut down on that traffic, because why am I cutting through the tree streets when I can go directly to Old Westminster Pike, or I can go directly to 140? So, and I don't think anything was said or demonstrated tonight of the extraordinary nature that puts us in a position as a planning commission to deny this application. I feel like both the county and the applicant have made efforts to, mitigate, with all the road improvements that are taking place, to try to mitigate the impact on the general community around.
Yeah, I really think once Market Street goes through, it's there. I think it is going to cut down traffic. I truly do. I mean, I will admit, I cut through the neighborhood many times over the 50 years that I've lived here. I mean, it's the easiest way sometimes to get to where you're going. I think having Market Street built and put in, I do really think that it's going to relieve a great bit of traffic coming to those neighborhoods. And I mean, the numbers that were presented tonight, yeah, they're based on peak time there. I understand that, but I think it's gonna have Market Street's gonna have an impact on the neighborhood throughout every hour of the day. I do think more people, once it's there and it's in, I can really think people are gonna take that shortcut to get to Old Westminster or to 140.
All right, so, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Okay, we have one final item on the agenda. The on the report, I'm sure that'll be done. Not what you need. I'm changing the rest of the. All right.
Okay,
You waited a long time. to get that. God bless your soul. We normally don't go 3 hours.
It's okay, I thought this was going, it seems like it's a big project. So, I just have a couple of things. Water and sewer updates, this is updated by Aaron Gray. Spring 2025 amendment for water and sewer includes Hampstead, Tawnytown, Union Bridge, and New Windsor. Today, actually, the Board of County Commissioners had a meeting to vote to adopt the amendment. So they adopted it during the meeting today. This amendment will now be sent to the MDB for final review and approval. So that's just for the spring 2025 amendments. There's also a fall 2025 amendment. Those include
Mount Erie, Tawnytown, and New Windsor. And those were not, part of the meeting today. So text amendments, this section's updated by Claire Stewart. Board of County Commissioners has sent several zoning text amendments to the Planning Commission for their review and recommendation. These topics include revisions to the adequate public facilities ordinance, which Planning Commission will continue their discussion on in September. The Planning Commission forwarded recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners regarding revisions to the Employment Campus District, which goes to public hearing. It went to public hearing today. And solar development requirements. I have not received an update on that though, so I have to double check about that. I tried to give a follow-up. So I can just, I don't exactly. With the employment district, so I can send an email to plan this with the, yeah, I'll let you know. Cool, yeah.
You said it's related to solar on the.
Yeah, solar development requirements on the campus district, but yeah, employment. Couple of master plan updates, work groups, they've been meeting for housing, economy, and agriculture. The agriculture work group has concluded all of their meetings. Housing and economy, they have their last meetings this upcoming week.
And so do they give reports that will go to the planning commission for
Yes.
their consideration of incorporating into the new master plan? But they're just recommendations.
So- Yes, it's just recommendations that will be reported to the planning commission in November. I think that we're tentatively planning to have an update before that full report, just to sort of give some of the information out before like the official report presentation. I believe that,
I will say, I like what you're doing as far as having the work groups and then coming back to the planning commission, because a master plan, having gone through the last one with the county, it's a very heavy lift, and I think it's kind of nice having those side groups that really kind of work on that and then come back.
yeah, and we had a joint work group meeting in the middle of sessions, so members from agriculture, housing, and economic development all got together, and they had conversations amongst each other, and then they came back and reported back to the specific groups about what they kind of learned about the commonalities and the differences between each group.
Do the work groups meet with the planning commission themselves in the beginning of the process, just to kind of give them a feel for some of the things that maybe they were thinking, or not necessarily?
So there was always a commission member in each work
Oh,
group.
perfect.
So there's one commission member in each work group.
Okay.
Two, there was two.
Two.
Thank you. Perfect. Yeah, so there's two in each work group. And then there's also there's a chair that's appointed by the work group, and that's a work group member, and they're the ones who will be doing the report for the work group. Any other work group questions?
No, I'm just collecting thoughts for we do Mars.
Well, look, Eric Brown, city director of housing, he's part of the housing work group. And I have been attending the economy work group.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've been involved.
Oh, good.
Also, we've been attending farmers markets throughout the summer to, hand out stickers about the master plan, and also direct people to the website and have people get more involved in getting updates. It's not for surveys. We aren't really reaching out for feedback at this time from citizens, but just to get their eyes on the master plan website and have them sort of start thinking about the process and start kind of getting checked in a little more once we do ask for more feedback later in the process. Also, if there's any annexation related questions, information, those should be forwarded to Javier Toro. And those are all my things.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, commission member comments, we made a lot of comments.
I have a question for staff. Aren't we supposed to be getting together at some point before?
I was gonna,
You stole my thunder.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, that's okay. No, just to say that I was, kind of hoping I get a little bit more feedback from the group. I've heard back from some, but not all. So at this rate, I was just gonna send an email tomorrow, giving you probably 2 date options. And just saying, you know, does this time or this time?
Which dates are?
Well, we have a date with their planning commission, which is September
17.
17th in the morning. But we're trying to schedule a meeting with.
No, the 16th.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, whatever the Tuesday is.
And we
At 9 o'clock.
in the morning, we've got feedback, it's in the morning, we got feedback from people attending that. We're trying to set up a meeting with the staff and the planning commission, prepare for the meeting.
with us.
Yes,
Prepare for that.
we want to schedule a meeting with you guys to prepare for the meeting.
Yeah, and so I did.
So what days we talking about?
So this rate. Thing. I'm sorry.
So we're talking about for the county, 17th like 9.
The
So that-
16th in the morning.
16th like 9.
It's not-
We're first thing.
So we'll be
Confirm
done by
Thank you.
when, a couple hours?
Yeah, it's 1 hour, and then I did
Perfect.
confirm that we would be out in time for you to do later in the morning. So I
Okay,
confirmed
yeah,
you would be out by
perfect.
then. And I'm really sorry, I can't put my hand on those dates, but you'll get an email tomorrow.
Look for an email tomorrow for
Stop.
dates for us internally.
I'll stop holding up the term.
But yeah, so that was my only comment, so Dan stole my thunder.
Okay, all right. Then entertain a motion to adjourn.
Oh,
Not sure if you all have been looking into it, but Carlisle mentioned the solar code amendments that the county is working through right now. The Renewable Energy Act that the state passed this past spring went into effect as state law July 1st. And there are 2 main things that we were concerned with. One is that solar facilities are required to be a principal permitted use on any zoning district if they are less than 5 megawatts. So obviously in the city, you probably don't have properties in the city that are gonna be really conducive to solar facilities. But just be aware that they are required to be a principal permitted use. But the other item that was very concerning to us is that they're called energy storage devices. These are battery, the main way that they're implemented are called battery energy storage systems. The picture sea containers filled with lithium-ion batteries that are hooked into the grid so that during times of high power generation, they can store the energy, and then during low times of energy generation, they can release it into the grid. So it helps to moderate the flow of electricity to the grid. The state law requires that these be a principal permitted use in all zoning districts. Those may impact the city because they can be of various sizes. And so even in the middle of a residential neighborhood, someone could install these types of battery energy storage systems. So what we looked at was primarily from the zoning perspective, what kind of setbacks, what kind of distance separations and so on that we're putting in place. There is a good chance that the state will preempt us, like they have with many other things, next legislative session. But we're putting some codes in place now, and because I am getting inquiries. People are contacting us and saying, we want to install these. And they would be in neighborhoods and so on, so we're getting our codes in place for that.
How big are these things?
They look like containers.
Like a little container. Okay, so you can just truck it in.
40 feet.
Bigger than the, they go 20 feet. 8 by 40.
In the middle of residential neighborhood.
They have to be a principal permitted use in any zoning district.
This isn't the state.
So state things.
State.
It's the same for the solar, but it's only if it's heat box.
Yeah. And it's in effect of July 1. So right now, someone can come and apply to you for a.
Can you do setback requirements?
Yes, the state has not preempted those yet.
And landscaping,
They have this, the state has not preempted landscaping yet.
okay,
That's
Setbacks, landscaping.
That's, it's doing a lot of preempting of those sorts of local requirements. So
Things evolve.
I thank you for bringing that to our attention. I was unaware of that. And I mean, I understand in certain areas it would make sense, but I mean, my gosh, I would not want one if I had a vacant lot on Park Avenue. I mean, it's just.
Exactly. And so this is kind of the trifecta of energy solutions that we are being hit with. Power lines, power generation, power storage. And we are seeing the power lines, we've all heard about those, we know what's going on.
Wait till the data centers.
And the solar facilities.
No, they just put them in Virginia and then the power plant's good.
We've been dealing with those, but now what's new, are these large battery storage facilities. Counties that are kind of, southern counties, that are close to Virginia have already been dealing with this. Because related to data centers in Virginia and so on, they're looking to beef up the structure there. But it's coming our way, and like I said, I've had 3 inquiries already, 2 from property owners, 1 from a power company. Because the state is incentivizing people to get these installed on the grid. So just so you're aware.
Thank you for that. It would bother me too. Yeah. All right, thank you, Chris.
Absolutely.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
No question, all in favor, say aye.
Is